1 a.m. stream earlier today. I guess yesterday, technically, January 20, come on, January 27th. It was International Holocaust Remembrance Day or International Holocaust Memorial Day. I talked about Freemasonry and the Holocaust. There is some fascinating and really inspiring history surrounding Freemasonry and the Holocaust. Really, really, like I said, inspiring stuff. The idea of Masons actually starting a Masonic lodge in a concentration camp, I think is really, really, really special and really cool. So, obviously, I would hate for anybody to go through that. However, very impressed with it nonetheless and with the dedication. I'm going to take 1 second here. Let's see how the audio's doing. And the audio is good. Okay, let me just get this thing sorted out. Maybe. Get the lighting all sorted. Come on. All right, we're going to switch this from unlisted to public. Turn on this thing. All right, welcome. Everybody's doing well. We are now live officially. We have turned the stream from unlisted to public. Let's give it a few minutes. Let's wait to see who joins. Please take a moment, hit that like and subscribe button. These 1 a.m. streams, I don't have any specific topics. I just hang out and chat about whatever. So, oops. Okay. Let's see who joins. By the way, if that is smoky, once again, just let me know when you want to do the stream tomorrow, I guess technically January 29th, what time, and we'll see who jumps on to say hello. All right, please, anybody else watching this, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Ahoy, Mark David. I have no idea what a nominalist is, brother John _Orthodox. So maybe I'm a nominalist. Let me know what that is. Hello, Light Free. Thank you for being here. I'm somebody who wants you to hit the like and subscribe button, is what I would like you to do. Hit that like button, that subscribe button. Any thoughts on Freemasonry, please let me know. Welcome, everybody. Thank you all for being here. I'm telling you, these 1 a.m. streams, everybody, for whatever reason, people are like me, a bunch of night owls. Thank you for hitting the like button, Light Free. That stuff helps out majorly. People don't realize it, but liking, subscribing, commenting, sharing, engagement is really what drives these channels. I think Patton Oswalt is a funny comedian. I don't know about his views on anything beyond that. Hello, SM Anderson. I do Light Free, but I always say it. I repeat it over and over and over again because sometimes people forget or they come on and out the stream. I just repeat it very often, Light Free. But thank you for being here. I got a big nose. I've grown to accept it, Eric. Please hit like and subscribe. Donna, I'm very sorry for anybody who loses, somebody that they love. I'm very, very sorry. I do not know who King Sasha's fingers is. My fingers are regular. So I do not know to what you are referring. What's the story of Freemasonry? You got to be more specific. What's the history? There's a lot of stories to Freemasonry. Freemasonry is not the group Homer joins. That was the Stonecutters. However, that was based on the Freemasons. And, I think every Freemason, we love the Stonecutters episode of The Simpsons. I think for every Freemason, that is our favorite Simpsons episode, or at least it should be. I love it very much. So, Donna Strand, you're welcome. Please hit like and subscribe to everybody watching this. If you're new to the stream, if you've never been here before, please take a moment, hit that like and subscribe button. Nice try, 7078. I'm not going to fall for that one. But before I put you in timeout, hit the like and subscribe button nonetheless. Any thoughts you have on Freemasonry, positive, negative, or neutral? This is just a hangout stream. I don't have any specific content or specific discussion points. I do have some specific plans for tomorrow's stream at 1 p.m., which you'll see tomorrow if you tune in. Oh yeah, we do, Truth. I love that song. I don't know any of the lyrics. I remember who keeps the metric system down. What? Who rigs the Oscars every night? Who? Dun, 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 dun. I remember who keeps the metric system down, which I love. I think it's a great song. I will never have any concern with any movies or TV shows taking the piss a little bit. I think is a healthy thing for Freemasonry. And honestly, to have, to kind of be mocked a little bit, I think is a healthy thing for people to kind of, be willing to have yourself take the piss a little bit. So I'm fine with it. Yes, I do got 33. I have a lot of viewers this again, a lot is a relative term, but thank you to everybody who's been checking this out. The channel is growing, and that's thanks to all of you. So I truly appreciate it. Well, that's true. Stop Clementine. However, the Stonecutters was based on The Simpsons. Sorry, based on Freemasonry, excuse me. It was based on Masonic organizations and Masonic groups. Thank you, Broad. Broad, I never really liked my voice, or Broad Board. I never really liked my voice, so I appreciate that. That's very kind of you to say. I hope everybody is having an excellent night. I hope you'll hit the like and subscribe button, consider doing a super chat, share this stream with others, etc., etc. Yes, I mean, in Hong Kong and Macau especially, Mark David, there is one of my goals is to visit a Masonic lodge in Hong Kong. I'd love to do that. There's also Chinese Freemasonry, which has a fascinating history. A lot of temples in British Columbia, for example. I mean, I'm happy to have no legs. I would like to stick to having no legs myself. I like being born this way. I like who I am. So, okay, well, Fuzz Paws, there's nothing wrong with that if you need the help and you need the support. I hope that won't stop you from, I hope you don't get too down on yourself. I know it can be hard, but you have to do what's right for you and your family. No, Chaosine, you can have as many wives as is allowed in the country in which you live. So in Canada, you can have one wife. Freemasonry has nothing to say about one's wives, but you are taught, amongst other things, or instructed to be a good citizen. Part of that means following the laws of the country in which you live. Part of that means laws about wives and things like that. I've never met a Mason with 12 wives. It'd be exhausting. I am not. I am in my apartment. Which, what are you trying to say about my apartment? I have my wheelchair, and that's what I stick with. I'm very happy with my wheelchair. Reactor Zone, hit like and subscribe. Everybody watching this, please take a moment, hit that like and subscribe button. Any thoughts you have on Freemasonry, positive, negative, or neutral? I'd love to hear them. Well, so Freemasonry in many countries in the Middle East, it is outlawed or frowned upon, or pick your term. I am a member of a Masonic lodge in Israel, and I'm proud of that. There are also, Masonic lodges in Jordan. I know that. I know many Masons of Middle Eastern descent who joined Freemasonry in other countries. Well, I mean, Canada, I'm not a big fan of the phrase anything first. I don't like the term Israel first or Canada first. I think it's very foolish if a country views itself as, putting itself first, because then why would anybody want to hang out with you or trade with you or work with you or support you if you go into everything saying it's me first? Like, think about it in terms of like friendships, right? Why would it be of any benefit? If I'm going around the schoolyard saying it's Cameron first, no one wants to be my friend. I should be thinking about what makes the world better for everybody, while also loving myself and respecting myself. So I don't like this term of anything first. Well, Sithkus, I've been a Freemason for 20 years approximately, been to over 1,000 meetings all around the world. I think I know a fair bit about Freemasonry. Freemasonry is not satanic, DD3XO. This is the Masonic stream, Fruit Punch. Hello from Germany. Welcome from Germany. It's great to have you here. So stonemasons, Mark David, built Stonehenge because by definition, anything built by stone or of stone or with stone will be built by stonemasons. Freemasonry or speculative masonry did not show up until a few thousand years later. Um, Ch- Cheerio, the Garden Oracle. Thank you for being here. Um, a Freemason is a member of a Masonic lodge. A Masonic lodge is a civic or community group or organization that has existed in some form or another since the Middle Ages. My cat is running around like crazy right now. It evolved from stonemason guilds, but think of it as a member of a lodge. Being a Freemason is being a member of a Masonic lodge in the same way, being a member of like a fitness. You're a member of a gym, right? I would definitely disagree with you on that one, Sithkus. Now, every Freemason can determine for himself what he believes the point of Freemasonry is. Freemasonry is not a religion, it's not a political ideology in which there is a assigned belief structure. Rather, every Mason is welcome with his or her, for that matter, own interpretations of what being a Freemason is all about. My belief is Freemasonry is ultimately about the belief that the world can be made better through the application of brotherly love, relief, and truth. And I still believe that to be the case. Freemasons do not have a patron deity. We have a patron saint, St. John the Baptist, because the United Grand Lodge of England, or Premier Grand Lodge of England, was formed on St. John feast day. But Freemasonry, it does not have a deity. And Freemasonry is not like a pyramid scheme. Pyramid schemes promise you money or success if you join. Freemasonry promises neither. If anybody promises you money or fame or power if you become a Freemason, they are lying to you. And you need to be very careful of that. Well, I mean, not directly loyal, Tangi, right? I mean, Jesus was around a couple thousand years or 1500 years before Freemasonry existed. Certainly, we have many Christian Freemasons. And to be a Freemason, you must believe in a supreme being. Many are Christian, many take obligations on the Bible. However, Freemasonry is not a religion, right? We did, borrow from Jewish faith, Christian faith, Muslim faith, a bunch of other things, architectural theory and practice, stonemasonry primarily, Chinese mythology, when developing rituals and symbols, but that's a different thing as well. Well, we borrowed from Egyptian mysticism in terms of our symbolism, absolutely. But again, that's not a direct link, right? That is us looking back and developing ritual based on well-known symbols, especially well-known symbols of stone. No, Thin Tran, Freemasonry is not a Christian guild. Freemasonry is not a religion. We have members of many different religions. Again, Jewish, Hindu, Sikh, Muslim, Christian, both Catholic and Protestant. Wiccan, Wiccam. Who's Hiram Abiff? Probably a non-existent fellow. It's interesting in the Bible, actually, there's no one named Hiram Abiff. There's somebody named Hiram, who was the chief builder and architect of King Solomon's temple. However, and a very important figure in Masonic ritual. In my opinion, though, he probably was never a real figure. We don't even know for sure if King Solomon truly existed, right? He may have been a theological and mythical figure, but not a historical figure. Freemasonry, I mean, if you have services to offer, you should try to offer them to the Masonic Lodge, but you don't have to. I mean, that's just, like if you, for example, are a plumber and you find out a brother, needs some help and you can help him, you should, but you don't have to. What are the oaths sworn on? Asks Loyal Triangle. Well, the obligations are usually sworn on a volume of the sacred law. By default, I find very often it's a Bible. However, I've seen a Quran used. I've seen a Torah. I've seen an eagle feather. I've even heard of, not seen, but heard of special gems or stones being used for Wiccan Masons. It's based on the brothers' faith. There's no such thing as 35th degree of Masonry, Sith, because you have fallen for a whole bunch of baloney. Now, it may be possible referring to Memphis Mizraim, but that's not recognized in North America. The highest degree in Freemasonry is the 33rd degree in Freemasonry. The rest is appendant bodies. Yes, Scottish Rite goes to 33rd. Memphis can go higher. I think it's called the Egyptian Rite, but I don't know for sure. Um, but really, all you need to know about Freemasonry, the craft lodge, the first 3 degrees, that's the foundation on which Freemasonry um, rests. No, that's not true, John Terry. You do not have to know any Mason to join. What you need to do is approach the Masonic Lodge. You can send them a letter, send them an email, knock on the door, write a letter, call, and express your interest in joining. And you don't need to know any. You approach them, you express your interest, and you go from there. Now, eventually, they may give you an application form and sponsor you. But at the start, it's just about getting to know them, getting to know the brothers. You don't need to know anybody to start the process. I have no idea if Rick Ross is a Freemason. I don't know. Well, but John, they don't need to vouch for you right away, right? So when you first show up at the lodge and express your interest in joining, nobody needs to know you. They talk to you, they get to know you, they go out for coffee with you, they learn more about you, why you're interested in being a Freemason, and then they will be willing to vouch for you at that point. So you don't, I mean, you don't need, or it's called sponsoring, not vouching for you. But if you want to start the process, contact a Masonic Lodge, express your interest. You don't need to know anybody to start the process. That's good. Your mate just became one. I've been one for 20 years, 19 years. Burger Sleuth, many Masons are Christians. Yes, as Sitka says, you have to ask. One of the things about Freemasonry is it has to be of your own free will and accord. We're not inviting anybody or forcing anybody to join, heaven forbid. It's up to you to join if you are interested by making the first step and expressing your interest. Freemasonry is good. Again, Freemasonry is as good as the people who are members of it. So, all right, John Terry, you don't have to stick around. Burrs Manilar, welcome. Thank you for being here. I mean, I'm not a big fan of that term, Masons make good men better. It's a slogan. I don't really like advertising slogans. I don't think that's the most helpful thing. Again, every Mason gets to determine for himself, though, what Freemasonry is to him. Again, for me, Freemasonry is the belief that the world can be made better through the application of brotherly love, relief, and truth. And that's something I'm very proud to have tried. Welcome, Burrs Manilar. Thank you for being here. Well, I think, Nature Boy, I think you're asking what happens at a Masonic service. A Masonic service is if a brother passes away, he can request it, or his family can request it. He can request it in his will, or his family can request it. The Masons gather and perform ritual in public for the deceased and for the family. And really, it's a way to both bid farewell to our Masonic brother who has, moved on to the next life, and to say, we respect him and thank him for his services to the craft. But it's also a way to say thank you to the family in a lot of ways, right? Every hour a Masonic brother spends with us in lodge is an hour he's spending away from his wife, away from his kids, away from his family. And doing a Masonic funeral service is a way to, in front of the family and friends, say thank you for allowing your husband, your father, your nephew, your whomever, thank you for allowing him to share some of his time with us. Because, death kind of proves we have a finite amount of time on this earth. Every hour we spend is an hour we don't get back. So we need to be thankful both to the brother who spends time with us and to the family that allows the brother to spend time with us. Farewell to you as well. Well, I mean, I don't talk about what happens within Freemasonry in terms of Masonic rituals because it's not my place. I am a Freemason. I've been one for almost 20 years. All I ever say about the rituals is never did I take part in any ritual that was in any way unsafe or against one's civic, religious, moral, employment, family responsibilities. I mean, you can join when it's right. When it's the right time to join, the lodge will find, you will join. Kind of things find you when you're ready. What I'd say is don't rush it or feel like you have to join within a set period. You join when you're ready. That's the key. Um, 30. So let me ask you this, Rick Barry. What would happen if we removed from Freemasonry the 32nd and 33rd degree? For 99% of Masons, would anything within the Masonic order change? Be wise. I hope that you'll hit the like and subscribe button. You could be an artist and be a Freemason. That's no issue. What you have to do is the same as anybody else. Whether you're a lawyer or an artist, approach the lodge, express your interest in joining. Jesus was not a member because Jesus was around about 1500, 1600 years before Freemasonry existed. He was a carpenter, which is a profession in the same way stone masonry is a profession. That's different than Freemasonry, which was a civic or is a civic institution. Many Masons have already turned to Christ, Rick Barry. Many Masons are Christian. To be a Freemason, you must believe in a supreme being. That can include being a Christian or Hindu or Sikh, whatever it might be. And they are, valuable parts of the Masonic order. And I love having them as brothers. Skull and Bones is a different organization. Skull and Bones is a fraternity, I believe, out of Yale University. I choose not to talk about the initiation. I don't do so out of fear. I do so because I believe that, amongst other things, the shared experience and the shared knowledge of the ritual is what binds Freemasons. If I start to share it with non-Masons, it's one less way that we are bound together. Well, everybody will have a different interpretation of God, Rick Barry. The Muslims have a different interpretation of God. Jewish people, Christians, Hindu, Wiccan, Indigenous, but all interpretations are welcome because Freemasonry is a community group. It's not a religion, right? In the same way, within any, like if you're having a barbecue at your house, hopefully you're not, excluding people based on their religious beliefs. It's not the place for that. It's a civic institution. I act on the square, which means I try to be honest and faithful to my word and moral. I have no idea if I can good deed my way into heaven or not. Rick Barry, Freemasonry does not instruct anybody about how to get into heaven. And if anybody is telling you that that's what Freemasonry is for, they are wrong. If somebody came to me and said, will being a Freemason get me into heaven? I would say no. Heaven or hell, that is a question for your religious leadership. If they asked me, can Freemasonry provide lessons on how to live a better life here on earth? I would say yes, and I truly believe it does. But that's a separate question from the afterlife. That is a question for your religious leadership because I have no idea. We do not pray to Lucifer, Ammon. I can't pronounce that. Freemasonry is not a religion. We're not praying to deities. We're not a religious institution. I do not know what Ephesians 2:8 says. Maybe I do, maybe I don't. I'm not even going to say if there is a secret handshake or not. That's up to other people to find out if they join. I will say there are modes of recognition. Again, that's shared knowledge within Freemasonry. Sharing it outside of Freemasonry affects the bonds of brotherhood. Well, then I guess that's where I'm going, Rick Barry. Okay, Amina, welcome. Thank you for being here. We do not worship that either. Freemasonry is not a religion. We're not worshiping. That's not what Freemasonry is about. What does Masons do in function? Well, I would argue that what we do in a function is we fulfill the human desire for the bonds of brotherhood and friendship. It is not based in, well, it's based on, I don't like to use this term because people will misunderstand it. It's based on economics. It's based on a trade union. It's based on stone Masonic guilds of the Middle Ages, which was a trade union, not a religion, right? And then it evolved into a social club or a social group, which then developed rituals and ceremonies as a way to bond brothers, as a way to bond people together through brotherhood. So every Shriner is a Mason, right? To be a Shriner, you must first be a Mason, and then the shrine is just one appendant body within Freemasonry. So after you're a Freemason, if you're interested in doing even more Masonic work, you can join the Shrine, which much of its emphasis is on charitable work as well as more fun social functions. Um, Ammon, well, I'm not a Christian, right? To be a Freemason, you don't need to be a Christian. I believe that the Bible has many good and valuable lessons. However, whether you're asking me if I believe in, let's say, the Christian faith, I would say I'm not a Christian. But you can be a Freemason and be a Christian. I know many who are. Um, well, I would say the opposite. Nine. Well, when you say division, there's different orders within Freemasonry after you get to the first three degrees, but we're all brothers. So the division is not something that causes, like, a Shriner is my brother, right? I am their brother. I think the beautiful thing about Freemasonry is actually how it fights against division. I've had people ask the question on this channel before, and it does scare me sometimes. They'll say, how can you get along with people of different faiths and religions, or sometimes with different politics? The fact that that question has to be asked, I think, is concerning because it shows, I think, that we've devolved in society to where we're not able to work with other people of different faiths and different beliefs. And that concerns me. You do have to study. Well, so there's two ways they ask you. They do encourage you to, on your own time, study liberal arts and sciences, especially geometry, astronomy, basically the seven liberal arts and sciences, because there's belief in Freemasonry that the more educated you are, the better you'll be able to kind of support society. I believe that firmly. That's why on Scoring Compass Promotions, I try to do regularly scientific podcasts and scientific episodes. They also, however, do expect you, if you want to advance in Freemasonry, to study your ritual book and be able to answer questions to move from the entered apprentice degree to fellowcraft degree to master mason degree. Rick Barry, I do not know. I'm not the person to answer that question. You should talk to a priest. How do you get to heaven? Again, Freemasonry, it makes one of the reasons it's not a religion is because it makes no promises of salvation nor threats of damnation. I will say for me personally, I'm not concerned about how to get into heaven. I'm concerned about trying to build a better world here on earth through the application of brotherly love, relief, and truth. But that's me, and that's my opinion. We have Masons of many different religions and many different religious beliefs, and you need to keep that in mind. Well, Rick Barry, then you're better than me. Oh, yeah, we are not satanic worshipers. We are not a religion. We're not worshiping Satan nor anything else. Well, then I would say I'm not a big fan of Rick Barry, you saying you guys aren't going because I know many Freemasons and they're good people and I have no doubt they're going to heaven. If you want to say I'm not going to heaven, then that's fine. You can believe that about me. But don't be bringing my other Masonic brothers into this. We do not eat babies, nor do we eat any humans of any kind of any age. Yeah, I know many Christian Freemasons, Elise, John. I'm going to call you Elise. I know many Christian Freemasons. And it is a brotherhood. I mean, it's a civic organization. It's a civic group. There are also women Freemasons. You need to keep that in mind. But absolutely, it is a brotherhood. I'm something very proud of. I do not know what free from that. We are not hiding anything other than, the nature of not even the nature of, but information within the Masonic rituals. And that's because it bonds us together. To join Freemasonry, there is a leap of faith. You do have a mentor, Nature Boy. How active the mentor depends on how busy they are in their life outside of Freemasonry. But before you join, you are usually given at least two sponsors. They're meant to vouch for you in the lodge, and they're meant to be kind of your guides and mentors throughout Freemasonry. Most lodges also have dedicated mentorship programs where they will work with Masonic brothers to, work on their degree and their rituals. Okay, good for you, Rick. You're wrong about a lot of things, but I have nothing but respect for those in the military. You risked your life and you should be, to try to make the world a better place, and good for you. Well, Ellis South, that is not true either. Freemasonry, I mean, I know gay Freemasons and I know straight Freemasons. Freemasonry does not discriminate based on sexual orientation. Um, I've never read Eckert Volume 1. I can tell you why I choose not to reveal the secrets. I've talked about that in the past. It's because I don't want to affect the bonds of brotherhood. Um, I did not, Bud Morgan. Please hit the like and subscribe button. During the initiation ceremonies and every ceremony I've seen, I've never seen anything that would be described as that would be illegal or immoral or unsafe or anything against one's civic, religious, or familial responsibilities. Why not, Rick Barry? Would you give me your bank account information, or would you give me your social insurance number, or do you want to keep that a secret? I care, Bud Morgan, and I'm somebody. So if I care, why would you say nobody cares? Welcome, everybody. Thank you for being here. Please take a moment, hit the like and subscribe button. Gearhead, please hit the like and subscribe button. So Manly P. Hall, you have to be really careful about Manly P. Hall. He wrote, I believe the book you're referring to is The Secret Teachings of All Ages. He wrote that before he was a Freemason. Um, and so you need to be very careful when when you're talking about Manly P. Hall because, um, a lot of, he became a Freemason. He was very active, but he did get some stuff wrong. Um, Salante, I mean, I can't. I guess what I'd say is if you want to try to find employment online, maybe try learning some stuff about social media skills. Um, Thank you, Frog Eat Frog. Yes, Mr. Reactor, I got a big nose. Please hit like and subscribe. I mean, maybe he was in the military. I have no idea. If he was, respect to him. If he wasn't, then stolen valor is not cool. So keep that in mind. Um, I mean, don't burn any places down, whether they're accused of witchcraft or not. Well, there is no Celise, there is no masonry mission, right? You need to keep in mind every mason will develop his own mission based on what he views about Freemasonry, like how he interprets it. For me, the mission within Freemasonry, again, is the belief that the world can be made better through the application of brotherly love, relief, and truth. Or another way to put it is it's about the mission is to try to build a better world through the application of brotherly love, relief, and truth. And that's something I'm very proud of. Nature Boy, maybe, right? A lot of it depends on where you are and the jurisdiction and the lodge's own rules. What I always tell people when they ask me that is never presuppose. So if you have a criminal record, go to them and you're still interested in joining, go to the Masonic Lodge, explain you have the criminal record, express what happened, how you came to have the criminal record, maybe how you've changed in your life, how you're trying to make things better for yourself and for the community, and go from there. But don't prejudge, because I've known many Masons who have criminal records and still join. But don't be afraid to tell them, or actually tell them, right? Don't try to hide it. Even if there's no criminal record check, you still shouldn't hide it. Um, how are you? You, I'm gonna call you Jello. Hey, he's a very handsome fella, so I will take that happily. Please hit the like and subscribe button. I'd very much appreciate it. It is not a religion. Freemasonry is not a religion. Um, well, I mean, I would say, stone masons, the profession, absolutely build a better world practically through the building of, well-structured, safe buildings, whether they be civic engineering or walls or structures, and they absolutely make the world a better place. In fact, you could argue the history of humanity is the history of stone without question, right? Stone tools, the building of, using stone tools from our earliest ancestors. I would say stone masonry is without a doubt of service to humanity. Freemasonry is also service to humanity, but in a more metaphorical sense. Well, user, you should still hit the like and subscribe button. It is not demonic. Freemasonry is not demonic. But if you're interested in stone masonry or masonry as a profession, then more power to you. I hope that you will become a stonemason. You know, there's nothing but respect for those guys and all the work that they do. Um, I am one sub away from 3,380 subs. Help a brother out. We're going to end this stream soon, but I will be back on stream tomorrow. We do not. I mean, I know Freemasons who are dentists. I've even known some who've helped out brothers who need dental work in like an emergency situation. I know some Masons who are lawyers, but there is no like Masonic dentist we go to or Masonic lawyer we go to. Um, I think we all do to a certain extent, Ellis South. I think we all want to be part of something bigger than ourselves. Well, there's a big difference, user, but not completely, in that Freemasonry evolved from stonemasonry in the Middle Ages, right? Initially, we were stonemasons, and then the social component kind of spun out or evolved into its own thing. It's speculative masonry versus operative masonry. Um, but what I'd say, well, they are incorrect, and the rituals aren't that strange. Rituals are part of human experience, human life. We all have rituals. We've been doing rituals for thousands of years. Something as simple as the way you put your socks and shoes on in the morning could be considered a type of ritual. Um, I mean, Freemasonry is not going to get you cash. Freemasonry is not going to make you rich. Stonemasonry can be a profession, and I wish you best of luck. Well, in Germany, you would have to join either the Order of Women Freemasons or I believe co-Freemasonry. Because most of the lodges be fraternal, but there is, I believe, co-Masonry and the Order of Women Freemasons in Germany. I know, what I would say is contact the Order of Women Freemasons out of London, England. They should let you know where the lodges are in Germany. Um, Freemasonry does not get us political power. Um, Freemasonry does not give you political power or riches or fame. Anybody who promises you that it does is lying to you. Um, the Knights Templar, they were a order that protected pilgrims going to and from the Holy Land during the Crusades, and eventually they have become a Masonic order starting around 1741, 1742. I am an awesome person, not a punk kid. That is not true. Freemasonry is not a religion. There's no rules about celibacy or not. Some Masons, for either cultural or spiritual or personal beliefs, may choose to be celibate, which is fine. That's their right. But Freemasonry has no say in what happens within one's personal life. Um, Again, a lot of people are looking up a lot of nonsense. I wouldn't say common, but it does exist in Canada. It exists in Ontario, for example, the Order of Women Freemasons. Do I support ICE? I'm speaking for myself. Personally, not a huge fan of ICE. Very concerned with it, but that's my opinion. Freemasonry is not political. We have many Freemasons who have many different political views. Some may support them, some may not. I'm very concerned. However, I'll say that. Um, he could have been Delani. I don't know how old you are, but Freemason was very big in the 50s and 60s when my grandfather joined. So nothing but respect for those who serve the country through the military, just like I have nothing but respect for those who serve their communities by being a Freemason. In fact, it was very common for soldiers and military members to join Freemasonry. In fact, the great kind of growth within Freemasonry in the 1920s and 50s was primarily veterans returning from World War One and World War Two. Co-Masonry is a part of the liberal order of Freemasonry. It's lodges that allow both men and women. Um, uh, well, all-seeing eye. It's funny you say that as someone with the title all-seeing eye. I would not consider myself sheepish. Um, I would consider myself, I mean, I don't go around looking for fights, but I like to think I can stand up for myself if I have to. Um, One of the first prime ministers, hello, Mega. I can't pronounce all that. I'm going to call you Mega. Hello, Mega. Please hit the like and subscribe button. The first Prime Minister of Canada, the first President of the United States, Simon Bolivar, Garibaldi in Italy, and Jose Rizal were all Freemasons. So, yeah, Freemasonry is very common in the development of many countries. It wasn't the exclusive driving factor, but it was a valuable part of the development of many countries. Um, which again, I think Freemasonry, with its emphasis on things like democracy, tolerance, civil liberties, Enlightenment era philosophy, all of that stuff played a role in developing kind of a certain idea of what a nation could or should be. However, keep in mind King George was also a Freemason, so Freemasons would often have disputes. George Washington and King George were both Freemasons. Um, well, Delani, if you want to be a Freemason, you got to find a Masonic lodge in your area, express your interest in joining. Um, 15 is the number I always go with, beats 15 out of 45. Some would say 14, it depends. Some would say maybe even 16. It gets complicated, but I always go with 15 as the number. The Green Lobster, I hope you're not too green that you can't hit the like and subscribe button. Um, Some Freemasons may sing or dance. I do not sing and I do not dance because I cannot sing and I cannot dance. I have no rhythm and no musical ability other than I love music. That's as far as it goes. Thank you, Ammon. Um, Rick Berry, careful. Let's not put you in a timeout. People have the right to protest if they so choose. Freedom of speech. Eastern Star are, I mean, some would argue with the term female Masons, but it's a Masonic order for men and women without question. Um, Freemasons, we do not worship false idols. Freemasons do not worship. We're not a religion. Some Freemasons sing. Brad Paisley is a Freemason, and he can sing pretty well. I try to work out when I can. Thank you, Valerie. Please hit like and subscribe. I'd very much appreciate it. I'm a Freemason because my dad and grandfather were Freemasons, and I grew up going to lodge Christmas parties and special events and seeing a lot of value to Freemasonry. You don't have to have a family connection to join, though. Why I stayed active in Freemasonry is because I love it. And why I love it, who knows? You don't really decide the things you love. It's like asking you, why do you love your favorite song? At a certain point, you just love it because it's your favorite song. Scipio, please hit like and subscribe. My thoughts on Christ is I'm not a Christian per se. I certainly believe there was a historical figure, Jesus Christ, and I think a lot of his philosophies and the things he espouses, teachings, are pretty incredible and pretty valuable. You could learn a great deal from it. The supernatural elements to it, I'm not one who necessarily knows what to believe in, if I believe in that or not. Jake, my thoughts are that's a pretty good meal. It's not as good, though, as you hitting the like and subscribe button. Valerie and Betsy, the IRS is probably busy, I'm sure. I don't know. Just keep calling, I guess. Well, for many years, 9 beats, judges in court were called worship, as well as many mayors are still called your worship. In fact, I believe the mayor of the city of Windsor is still called his worship or your worship. Worshipful doesn't mean always religious worship or worship in that type of connotation. It means a sign of the office. Many mayors still have the title of worship. In fact, many judges can still have that title as well. So it's a title, not an act. This channel is about Freemasonry, Darlene Smiles. Please hit that like and subscribe button. I would truly appreciate it. Sorry, CEO, I'm going to have to do my own taxes. I think everybody has the right to have their personal religious beliefs. I think Freemasonry teaches universal tolerance, and I think that's a beautiful thing. There's one of my favorite things ever written about religion is the Anderson Constitution within Freemasonry. The section which states concerning God and religion, it talks about the value of being respectful of different people's religious beliefs. So Bricktop, no, there is the Order of Women Freemasons. There is also Co-Masonry and Eastern Star. You don't have to travel for meetings. I mean, it depends where your meetings are located. My meetings are about 15 minutes away when I, wheel there, 5 minutes by car. You can travel though. I was just in Chicago for a couple meetings. I've traveled from Canada to the Philippines for meetings and all around the world, and I love it. Some Freemasons may organize day trips. I think we in Freemasonry need to organize more day trips and organize more trips to special events and things. I think that'd be really cool. Um, NAM, there are some virtual meetings. During COVID, it was very common because we couldn't meet in person, right? We're trying to be respectful of people's of social distancing rules, but it's not as frequent as I think it could be or should be. Ellis, I mean, I would have no issue sitting with a trans member. Um, you know, whether you're a man or a trans man, I would call you brother either way. There is no health check or credit check in my experience. I've never heard of that in a Masonic lodge. Ooh, this is kind of foggy. I feel like my phone is not focusing well. Please hit like and subscribe. Although I'm not opposed to it, to be honest. I would not be opposed to credit and health checks before a Mason joins during the application phase. So A, you can learn any health risks he may have. For example, if he cannot sit for a long period of time, it's good to know that so we can tell him like these meetings may go a couple hours. You can sit, a little bit off to the side and stand up and stretch whenever you need to make sure he doesn't feel awkward. We can also, credit check to make sure he's not going to take on any payments he can't afford. There are dues in Freemasonry. They can be as little as like $25 a year. But for somebody who's struggling financially, that can be a lot. Thank you. I'm going to call you Texas. That is very kind of you. I truly appreciate that. Yes, I agree. Join a lodge. If you keep thinking we're so evil, talk to Masonic Lodge. Express your interest in joining. You'll be surprised. But thank you, Texas. That's very kind of you, and I greatly appreciate that. Um, Once again, please take a moment, hit that like and subscribe button, and I hope everybody is doing well. It's been a really good stream. It's crazy. Everybody, my whole audience is like me, a bunch of night owls. Um, well, Nam, I'm not sure why, but get in touch with them. See what they're saying. I am not Luciferian. Freemasonry is not Luciferian, despite what you may have read in Albert Pike. The UK was incredible. I had a blast. I hope to get back there at some point. Um, I've read this section you're talking about. I've read Albert Pike. He's one man. He doesn't speak for Freemasonry. He spoke for his own opinions on Freemasonry. Yes, Bricktop, you can. I know many Christians who are Freemasons. Jados, I'm not sure what you mean in terms of my role being a Mason. I'm the worshipful master of Masonic Lodge number 554, Border Cities Lodge number 554 in Ontario. I've also had many other roles within Freemasonry. I hope humanity's progress is not ending. I hope Freemasonry can try to make sure it doesn't end. We'll see. Sure. Mark, you should sub, A, because it's free to sub, B, because it helps me in my mission to promote the ways Freemasonry was and is relevant to the communities in which it's located, and to produce stories of Masonic interest. Um, I'm not sure why they didn't respond to you, Ammon. What I'd say is contact the lodge in England and express your interest, and they'll probably put you in touch with somebody in Germany, potentially. There is no religion in lodge. There is no religion in lodge. Now, again, there are people who have their own religious beliefs in lodge, but Freemasonry is not a religion. There's no religion in lodge. In fact, you cannot discuss religion or politics while in lodge. You can, Nature Boy, you can buy one without being a member. It's not dangerous. I mean, it's your money. You can spend it as you will. What I always say, though, is because you can buy these rings in a lodge, you need to make sure that if you see somebody with a Masonic ring, you don't automatically assume they're a Freemason, right? Because again, they're easy to get. Well, I would look up the Order of English, sorry, the um, Order of Women Freemasons in England. You should get the contact info for them there. Um, or Hist Pill Doc. You could make an oath on or an obligation on a feather for First Nations brothers, or you could make an obligation on stones or jewels if you are Wiccan, Wiccan. It has to be something that is a representative of your faiths and your beliefs and will speak to your heart. A lot of people will use a Bible, even if they're not particularly religious, because it's the book with which they're the most familiar. Mr. Palad, I don't run anywhere. I have no legs. That's not enough, the traveling man thing, but what you want to do is ask for a dues card and ask what lodge they're a member of. It's not Wiccan, it's Wiccan. I'm not going to judge anybody's. Well, you need to learn a supreme being. So if you have to explain how the Bible is a representative of the supreme being in which you believe. Talk to the Masonic Lodge, though. Talk to the Masonic Lodge and express why you'd want to do so on the Constitution. Interesting enough, 13 I think it's 13 of the signers of the Constitution, something like that, were themselves Freemasons, or Declaration of Independence were Freemasons. I mean, I would say if you want to read a book about Freemasonry, Nature Boy, I always suggest starting with Freemasonry for Dummies by Chris Hodap. Hopefully not, Nam, that shouldn't happen. Freemasonry does not discriminate based on one's race. I mean, turnover rate, it depends how you define turnover rate. If you were to define turnover rate as, Masons joining and leaving, it's very low. Because once you become a Freemason, you tend to stay one for your whole life. The issue, though, is very often you kind of forget about Freemasonry and don't show up. So you can have a Mason 20, 30, 40 years a Mason, but he's never showing up to lodge. It's kind of like paying a gym membership but never showing up to the gym, which is a real issue in Freemasonry. I mean, Freemasonry came way after the Crusades, right? Freemasonry was 1717. The Crusades were about 700 years before that. Freemasonry is not about colonization. That's not what Freemasonry is about. That's not to say that some Freemasons historically were not also very supportive of colonization, and some were very much opposed to it. Right? Freemasonry, certainly there's an interesting idea of the idea of Freemasonry. I've said it before, Freemasonry is a story of stone and water. Stone, masonry, water, because it originated in England or Scotland, and to get anywhere outside of that, it had to travel on boats and ships, which is why so many port towns first had Freemasons around the world. And you could argue that's a type of colonization. Yes, you take an obligation to secrecy. However, it's been broken many times, not by me. I don't maintain the private elements or secrets because of any oaths I took. I maintain it because I believe they're valuable. There's a value in maintaining the privacy. The way you create bonds of brotherhood is through shared experiences and shared knowledge. If I start to share the rituals with people, I'm affecting the bonds of brotherhood between different Masons. You don't have to study geometry, but you're encouraged to study it, and I would encourage people to study it as well, without question. So, Freemasonry is not based on the Kabbalah, also. Well, Kyle, I have been doing this stream for a while. Again, I pick what I say and don't say based on my understanding of what should be maintained as privacy. If you have any concerns, so be it. I think Freemasonry, we need to have these, I think we need to have these channels and these discussions. There are many Masonic podcasts out there, and they're all doing a great job. Um, I will say I speak exclusively for myself. I don't speak for any other Masonic bodies or lodges. Um, so you need to keep that in mind. Yeah, again, in terms of transparency and what transparency is versus isn't. Again, I choose to maintain the privacy of Masonic ceremonies and not give any specifics because I don't want to limit the bonds of brotherhood. Well, I mean, geometry is a moral concept in the sense that within geometry, you see an ordered universe. So there's this idea of, metaphorically, you can apply that to our morals. Square conduct, right? Square being true, 90 degrees. Square conduct means acting with somebody on the square. It's also the basis of Freemasonry, or sorry, basis of stonemasonry. To be a stonemason, you had to be knowledgeable in geometry, because if you're building a pyramid or a wall or a house or any other structure and you don't know how to produce geometric shapes that are solid and structurally sound, the building is going to collapse. So in many ways, Freemason or stonemasonry was geometry put into practice. Um, and so, yeah, I've actually, one of my movies I really like, Lincoln, there's this whole scene which discusses the way that Abraham Lincoln used geometric principles, particularly Euclid, to derive moral understandings, which I really like. Um, Freemasonry, I mean, humanity started in Africa, to my knowledge. Freemasonry started in England. Um, Hello, Cap WNS. Thank you for being here. Well, thank you, Ellis. Zpith, I don't know what happened. To what are you referring? What happened? So we don't know if this was so we know for sure that when he was a traveling lawyer, he traveled with the Euclid with a copy of Euclid's Elements on his in his travels and in his journeys, right? And he would read it at night. He talked about that. In the movie Lincoln, Lincoln has a moral question. He has to decide, or moral decision. He has to decide whether he will potentially end the Civil War early, but in doing so, allow for slavery to last longer, or allow the Civil War to continue, but in doing so, potentially end slavery. And he, when trying to make this decision, actually references Euclid's principles, particularly the principle that things that are equal to the same thing are equal to each other. And in doing so, what he means by that is, white people and black people are both equal to God. They therefore must be equal to each other. Therefore, the moral decision, the right moral decision, is to potentially prolong the war with the goal of ending slavery. Whether you agree with that, or not, the point is he used geometry to derive a moral principle, and that's something I really like. Um, right, and the fact that again, we know he traveled with Euclid's Elements, and would read it at night, I think is really cool. Um, it is not, but I did bring that up to talk about Lincoln. Today's topic is how I'm going to be getting myself to sleep in a second. It's been a fun hour stream, but I do got to sleep at some point. It's usually the same fee annually, Nature Boy. Sometimes lodges will, for example, lodges, for example, will give a discount to members if they've been around for a while, or even forgive dues. If a Mason's been a Mason for 30, 40 years, they'll forgive the dues. So it just depends. It just depends on the lodge. I hope it is, because I would love it if Lincoln was fighting vampires. I think that'd be really cool. He was supposedly like a really big, tall, like tough dude. So who knows? Maybe he was fighting vampires. I say I'm going to choose to believe it until I'm told otherwise. Eastern Star is a good one as well. Absolutely. There's probably Eastern Star in Germany. I don't know for sure, but I believe there is. I don't lie. I might be getting things wrong. I'm not going to pretend like I get everything right, but everything I say is based on my experiences and beliefs being a Mason for 20 something years. So please take a moment once again, hit that like and subscribe button. I'd very much appreciate it, and I hope everybody is doing well. Don't forget, if you hit the like button and you hit the subscribe button, please make sure to take a moment to turn on the notification bell so you always get notifications from when I'm streaming live. I mean, I want to say no, but honestly, sure. Especially if it's an older lodge or more historical, it can have a certain cachet with that. So it can be the case that lodges are have a certain prestige, but my opinion is the most prestigious lodge should be your lodge. So whichever lodge you belong to, you should view that as being the most prestigious lodge, and the most, that's the lodge you should care what the most and love. Now, you should always recognize that every lodge is incredible and has its own strengths, but that also means you should focus on loving your lodge as well. It's kind of like country. I love Canada. I think it's the greatest country in the world. I also respect any American who says, for example, that they think America is the greatest country in the world. Being a beaver is awesome, Andrew. Please hit like and subscribe. A lot of people talking to each other in the chat. Focus on talking to me, for the record. Don't, leave other people alone. All right, guys, I'm going to end this stream because it's been a lot of fun, but I got to get to sleep. January 28th, 1 p.m. Eastern, we'll be back on. So I'll see you all then. All right, guys. Talk to you all soon. Yes, I am a weirdo. Please hit like and subscribe. 357 are important numbers in Freemasonry, but they're important numbers just in the world. I mean, for the record, those are just valuable numbers even outside of Freemasonry. I mean, 7, prime number, as they all are, 7 deadly sins, 7 liberal arts and sciences, 7 ancient muses. I think if 7 C's, right? 7 hermetic principles. 5, there's 5 orders of architecture: Ionic, Doric, Corinthian, Tuscan, Composite. 3, right? There's 3 primary colors. There's the Holy Trinity. It's amazing how these numbers are valuable in so many different. There's geometry, right? Geometric understandings. A squared plus B squared equals C squared. Those numbers are just important numbers, right? Within the world, within and without Freemasonry. So you need to be, right? I think a lot of times people think, for example, they will hear something like 7 is an important number within Freemasonry, and they'll forget like 7 is just an important number historically. Again, being a prime number. Look at the movie 7, right? One of my favorite movies. 7 deadly sins, 7 ancient muses. Rome had 7 hills. Certain numbers, for whatever reason, seem to pop up with more frequency and more importance in human history and human understanding, which is very fascinating. Nam, I believe in evolution. But again, Freemasonry is not a religion. we have Masons who have many different beliefs. Some maybe believe in creationism. Yes, I've heard that one before as CEO of my time. Um, all right, guys, thank you all for being here. I hope you all have an excellent, excellent night. Um, and yeah, maybe I'll see you all tomorrow. All right, guys, talk to you later. Bye.